Okay, this is a quick recap of the first session of the Rise of House Roaringhorn campaign I'm in using Fate Core. I was going to post the Google Hangout that we had, but because I was being an idiot, um, I had the software set up that uh, for whatever reason, um, my audio wasn't being recorded, and I didn't think I was talking as much as I was during the game session, but obviously I was. So, if you guys were there, you could kind of piece together what was going on just by everyone else's uh, comments and everything else. But I listened to it, and it probably will be kind of confusing to you guys. So I'll just I'll upload the next session that's coming up. I believe this Friday. Um, and the other thing I was thinking of doing was also um, uh, doing a campaign background uh, kind of or campaign introduction kind of video where I tell you guys about the origins of this homebrew campaign and how it's morphed and changed over the years. And we put it up on the shelf for a little while and then pull it back down and play in it a little bit more and then put it up, and it's that kind of thing. So anyway, let me get started, so I can keep this video is probably, or this the recap is probably going to be in 3 parts, and each one's going to be fairly short, which is why I'm doing it that way or this way. So when we first began or whatever, we've got 3 player characters in this campaign. There is Sauda, who is Keith's character, and Sauda is an Axumite heretic. That's his kind of his high concept. There's Torn, which is my character, and he's a South Brixian knight, basically. And then there's Vahash, which is Joe's character, and he is a high elf wandering mystic. So those are the 3 characters. Sauda and Torin are blood brothers who have known each other for some time. They kind of not really grew up together, but in a way they did. Sauda is younger than Torin. I'm not sure how much younger, but they did, share a lot of time together. And Vahash is being newly introduced to them during this first session. So this insinuates that Vahash's character or Joe's character, Vahash, is going to hopefully be able to create some type of friendship and bond with the other 2 characters. And then the 3 of them will, carry on from there. At least that's how I kind of imagine it to be. Hopefully it does do that and they don't all end up killing each other. But anyway, so when we start Sauda, he finds himself being hurled into the icy waters of the sea right off the coast by 3 young toughs. And the leader of these toughs, this kid's name is Sig, and he's got to be in his late teens, and he considers Sauda to be an outsider, because Sauda is an Axumite, as I was saying, not a South Brixian. And of course, he doesn't have any love for Soda for whatever reason. We're not sure yet why. And he tells Soda that he's not welcome in this fishing town, which is called Havens Cove. And I'll probably go into a little bit more of that, the background of like I said, where we're at in another video, just so I can keep this one moving along. But long story short, both Sauda and Torin are members of a noble house, and the house's keep is right on the shore, and this fishing village of Havens Cove is basically under the protection and within the lands that are ruled by this noble family and this keep. So anyway, Torn, Sauda's blood brother, he heard that the young Axumite had been seen at the town's only watering hole. It's called the Blue Maiden, and he comes down there to see what's going on. And as he arrives, he basically witnesses the youths, toss Soda into the water, and he's able to chase him off basically. So then Torn decides to get some help from some of the fishermen that are there, and they're able to pluck the soaking and chilled Soda from the water. After they get him out of the water, and Torn's trying to find out why Soda is in trouble with these guys, what exactly happened. The marshal of Havens Cove, he kind of saunters up, conveniently right after those guys have fled, and his name is Marshal Gillen. And he's Marshall Gillen's somewhat of an arse. So he adds insult to injury by insulting Soda, and kind of, as Torrin gets upset with him, saying, well, man, why aren't you doing something about these thugs or whatever that are running around the town? He kind of dismisses Torrin and basically tells him to return to the keep, which is named Altair Keep, by the way, and to mind his own business. Marshall Gillen, he's basically the big fish in this small pond, which is the town of Havens Cove, basically. So he doesn't appreciate Torn, who's a knight, basically coming out of the keep down to the town and nosing around and telling him how to do his job. So there you have it, pretty much. So their relationship is not positive at all. Basically, Torn knows of the marshal from previous encounters with him. It's insinuated, and that they have no love. There's no love lost, between the two of them. Torn basically thinks that the marshal is a slouch, probably is easily bribed, and is a bully, basically. So anyway, Sauda and Torn decide to head back towards Altair Keep, so Sauda can change out of his drenched clothes and not catch pneumonia. And while they're walking back up the road or path or whatever it is towards the keep, this is when the high elf mystic Vahash makes his appearance and kind of follows the two from behind, unseen, as they head back to the keep. Okay, so the next thing that happens, if you guys can imagine, kind of like the next scene, Sauda and Torn find themselves at the gate of Altair Keep, and Lady Elise, who is the daughter of Lord Westmark, who is the main, the head honcho of the keep. And I'll have visuals so you guys can kind of see who I'm talking about, and kind of put a face to the name, so to speak, because there's a lot of different NPCs that we're getting introduced to in this first session, and I actually found it necessary to keep notes, while we're playing. And I don't know how you guys feel about that. Does that is that too much trouble? Do you guys not have is do you guys think that having too many NPCs, or can there ever be too many NPCs to keep track of? That's another thing. But I just find it easy to do that. And then as we are playing, one of the cool things about it being an online campaign is that you can have another window on your computer open, and basically you can see all the NPCs that are there. The GM, uh, Jim, was nice enough to, as each NPC is introduced to us, he makes them available so we can see a picture of them and see what they look like, and kind of see their a brief one line description of who they are and kind of what their purpose is, and then go from there. So that helps a lot. But anyway, Lady Elise, she runs up and she's asking if Torn has seen where her father is. Um, and I guess she knows that there's going to be some type of uh, fancy, or not fancy, but some type of special dinner or something in the hall of the keep this evening. So she's looking for her father, and of course, Torin has no idea where he's at. Um, and she says that apparently Lady Elise informs him that apparently that there are guests that are there at the keep that they had no idea were coming, but she doesn't know any other details than that. So as they're kind of trying to figure out who it could be, um, that's when Vahash, the high elf, walks up and kind of makes his entrance, and immediately uh, Sauda looks at him suspiciously because, in a nutshell, and you guys can see on Sauda's character sheet as his aspects kind of detail that he has a background tied to slavers. So it's implied that his character is kind of suspicious of strangers, because he has no idea when and or if these slavers will ever come looking for him again, because he escaped them. So why would they go through a lot of trouble to come find him? We don't know yet. There's probably something else going on with him that he may not even be aware of, that he may be a piece to or he definitely is. I guess we all are, all the characters are, but he definitely is a piece to a larger puzzle. And we're still basically trying to figure that out through the narrative as we play the game. So anyway, of course, he's suspicious of Vahash, and Torn, being uh, Sauda's older blood brother, he's super protective of him. Um, and I was joking around and saying that basically Torn is akin to like Thor, and Sauda is almost like Torn's Loki. Um, Soda is, I guess, he is kind of more manipulative and kind of a little more uh, aversive, I guess that's the correct word. Whereas Torn is a lot more blunt, straightforward, you know, like that. So anyway, so of course Torn kind of pushes to the front and gets in front of actually Sauda and Lady Elise, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on with you?" Um, so anyway, Vahash basically goes into a speech of introducing himself and stating that his mission is one of intertwined fates with the other two player characters, um, and that there are big things in motion. Basically, big things are going to happen or are happening now that they aren't aware of. So, with that being said, and in the, I guess, partially uh, in the attempting to move the game along, um, I think Torrin suggested that maybe Vahash should speak to the uh, the Lord of the Keep and uh, introduce himself to the Lord of the Keep, and then they'll decide what to make of him after that. Um, so then um, uh, we find ourselves a few hours later that evening in the hall of the keep. Um, we see that there's a lavish, well, not, well, I'll say lavish feast, but the food is fairly meager, but there's a lot of it. There's I guess, meats and cheeses, and I'm sure there's wines and probably ale and things of that nature. But it's none of the fare is overly exotic. Everything is local, and fairly plain. Okay. That was what was as described to us by the GM. So, and kind of with, or at least the way that we play Fate Core is that the extreme details, if you want to call them extreme, um, if they're made note of, then that usually means that they're of some narrative importance. So it's kind of like, it's an inferred meaning. You kind of have to read into a lot of things. And that also causes some things to go, I don't know about everyone else, but that also causes some things that they go over my head, some things I do miss. But as it turns out, it was important that we realized that there was not, overabundance of food, and that also that the food that was there was pretty fair, pretty plain fare is what I want to say. So anyway, as Torin and Elise um, are talking in the hall, and Vahash is once again sticking to himself so far, kind of in the, off to himself. And we're assuming that he hasn't met the Lord of the Keep yet, but it's assumed that he has not free reign, but he has some uh, ability to travel throughout the keep, unescorted to a degree. So, Torin and Lady Elise noticed that a cleric, a South Brixian cleric, uh, is in the hall as well with his two. They look like retainers of some sort, which they're wearing cloaked gray hooded cloaks, and their faces are obscured. Uh, and it looks to Torn as though the cleric is kind of looking at the various tapestries that are adorning the walls of the hall, and kind of just making note of the general um, appearance or layout of the keep, kind of like almost as if he's doing somewhat of an inspection, almost, I think. Um, and Anyway, Torn comes up to the cleric and finds out that the cleric his name is Brother Talavrud, and he's a priest of Vexus. And Vexus is the primary South Brixian god. He's kind of like a sun god of sorts, and I believe his symbol is a silver arrow pointing north with a disc behind it. Um, so anyway, yeah. So this priest Talarud is standing there, and his two they're called gray cloaks are following behind him, and he notices Torn. He introduces himself, and as he introduces himself, he holds out his left hand, which has a large ruby ring on it, and Torn immediately kneels and kisses the curate's his ring, as is required, and Talarud recites a general blessing over Torn. Vexus will keep you or something like that. Um, so they kind of have a little short talk, and Torn mentions or makes note that uh, none, uh, no outsiders in the keep should, bear arms, especially in the feasting hall. And of course, the priest dismisses his words, saying that, hey, these gray cloaks are, my personal retainers, and, they're considered to be above and beyond basically your mundane laws as I am. So, Torrin doesn't know enough about religious doctrine to disagree with him, and he doesn't want to insult the man because priests are powerful, and they have a lot of influence. So, uh, and in the other video, I'll give you guys more background. I'll kind of explain why this keep and this noble house, why they are basically walking on glass. They have to be very careful about what they say and what they do. So anyway, while or after they finish talking, Brother Talaroon, he notices Vahash standing in the or sitting, I guess, at at the table, hooded, and kind of makes note of him and raises a questioning eye to Torin, and Torin chooses to ignore this. And instead asks why the cleric has blessed the keep and the town with his presence. So Brother Talaroon states that there's an upcoming event known as the Day of Life, which is approaching, and that he's there to oversee the ceremony. So Torn and me, David, I had no idea what this Day of Life was. This is something that I hadn't heard of before. So anyway, so he mentioned that this Day of Life was coming up. And so what I did was Torn, using his Brixian lore skill, he basically tried to recall and see if he could remember what this meant, because it was actually a ceremony that had been dismissed for a certain number of years. I don't know how many really, but at least in Torrance time, so at least 30 to 50 years ago, maybe. But basically what it is that all unmarried males and females of the ages between 18 and 22, they all get together at a graveyard under the light of the two moons, and they all couple. So the purpose of the Day of Life is to ward off death for an entire year. And the kind of crazy thing about that, if that's not crazy enough, is that both nobility and common folk of that age group are expected to participate. Now, what I didn't ask is that, well, what happens if they don't participate? I'm sure it's probably just looked down upon or whatever, but I didn't ask. I wasn't thinking about that. But it's not as if they are married or anything like that. It's basically a orgy under the two moons in a graveyard, which is nuts. So Torrin, what he did realize is that as the priest was talking about this, the priest was getting very excited and very heated up about it. But once again, this is a old custom that for some reason is being brought back into the current times. Now, why it was abandoned, was it considered to be barbaric? Did the nobility not like the idea of being forced to, roll around in the graveyard with common folk? Did this, I can only imagine that this may have caused some unwanted, pregnancy or, lineage or something. So maybe that's why, so I'm not really sure. So I'm assuming that we will get into that in future sessions. So we'll have to see. Um, so anyway, after they're done talking, Sauda, he enters the hall, and he actually gets a weird look from the priest as well. So the priest seems like he's kind of stuffy, you know. Um, and the priest and Lady Elise begin to talk. Um, while that's going on, Torn notices that Vahash, the high elf mystic, he swoons and he falls to the floor in a heap. And Torn rushes over there to kind of see if he can help him. And Vahash says that he just had some kind of a vision or something of the sort. And he kind of explains to Torn that there are dark forces at play, and the dark forces are actually active in this keep. And when he says that, he kind of directs that statement towards the priest. So Torrin doesn't know what to make of that. He says, or he thinks to himself that possibly, you know, maybe the powers that influence Vahash, the high elf, are kind of clashing with the mighty powers of Vexus, who is the South Brixian god, and maybe they're at odds in some way or shape or form. Maybe the priest is a lot more powerful than Vahash is, and his presence, his divine presence, maybe overcame Vahash or something. So, but he doesn't believe that the priest is evil. How could he be? He's a priest of Vexus, which is, you know, which is their god. So that can't be possible. So anyway, as Torrin is kind of running over all that through his mind, he notices that Elise, the brother Talarud, he hands Elise a small package or something, and Elise begins to leave and says again that, hey, you know, my father's still not here. I'm gonna get him, you know, because our guest is here, which is the brother Talarut, and father's late. Her father's late, you know. So suddenly, at that moment, the commander of Altair Keep, here's a guy named Veramoon, I believe, or Verumin, I think. Verumin. He kind of busts into the hall, and he's kind of looking wild-eyed and everything, and everybody's wondering what's going on. And he basically says that there's a large force that's approaching from the west, and he's looking for Lord Westmark now. And as Torn kind of questions him a little bit, he lets him know. He says, "Hey, the key forces have been alerted, and the marshal of the town, has been notified. A runner has been sent to notify him. So basically, the keep is on high alert, and the town is as well." And that's where I'm gonna end this recap, and then I'll upload part two. So hopefully, it sounds interesting to you guys. You know, I kind of kept notes. I glossed over a lot of stuff. I tried to just give you guys the main gist of what was going on. And once again, you know, sorry, but I'll have an actual play session up for you guys. You know, it won't be until this weekend because we don't plan on actually having the game session until Friday. And hopefully I'll have all the technical glitches out of the way, and then you guys can listen to that. And I don't know, you know, the recaps may still be good because maybe I can give you guys some more detail of what's going on in my head, since everything's going to be from my perspective or my character's perspective anyway. And we can continue that way. And then I'll make sure I still have some visuals there for you guys to, you know, look at if you want to, as the story goes along. So thanks for listening. Talk to you later.